I'll run through equipment components first. All machines are plugged into standard 240 volt power. So that they should be switched off at the wall overnight. When you switch this on in the morning, you'll need to switch the machine on. With this machine, the switch is underneath the carriage. When you switch that on, the software of the machine will run through a series of checks. If the machine's in good order, it'll show a normal display on the touch panel. If there's a problem, it'll give an error and you'll need to call a technician because you won't be able to use the unit. This machine has an emergency stop button, which is the red button under here. Just running through the components of the equipment. This is a side-mounted machine, so we've got an upright support that's mounted on the wall and it's to the side of the carriage. Some machines have mirrors, so they can look at themselves in the mirror. And they're machines where they're wall-mounted like this, but the patient walks in and looks at the wall. So there's often a mirror there. And you, as the operator, will be working over the patient's shoulder, looking into the mirror to find the facial midline. That always brings with it a risk of rotation. Machines like this one, where they're side mounted, you can look from front, side and behind the patient, so you're much less likely to get rotations and head tilts. So this is the carriage, and it can be raised and lowered. There's quite a lot of height variation in the machine. You can have someone who's well over 6 feet tall, and you can have someone who needs to sit on a chair or a small child. So attached to the carriage we have a C-arm. On this side of the C-arm you can see the box that houses the X-ray generator, so that's the X-ray tube head over there, and this is the support for the solid state sensor, and this is actually the sensor. We have handles for the patient to help stabilise them. So all machines will have handles or rails for the patient to hold. All of the machines will have some sort of positioning and stabilising devices for the head. This one only has temporal supports that clamp temporarily, so here. Some machines also have a band that supports the forehead. This component here moves forward and back, and this is a chin rest, and we put a bite block in here. Some machines don't have the chin rest, they rely just on the bite block. All machines allow you to take the chin rest away and just put a support in, and people just rest their chin against the support. You might use that for someone who's edentulous, for someone who's had trauma and can't bite on the bite block. You could use that for someone who doesn't have any teeth that occlude in this anterior segment. So you can change chin rest and bite block, or bite block, to just a chin support. And we can change the position of that on this machine by pressing these arrows that are labelled layer. You see that slides quite a long way. If you forget any of the components and you're using this machine, poster on the wall. So all machines will have something very similar to this, and they'll all have some sort of instruction manual that identifies the components and steps you through how to use them. You might have noticed as I hit the layer arrows that some lights came on. We have 3 light beams. We have one that's projecting from the side here, and that helps us line up the anterior segment of the arches in the focal trough anteriorly. There's a horizontal line that allows us to get the head posture correct, the up-down tilt of the head, and that line we try to get it parallel to Frankfurt horizontal, which is tragus of the ear to the lower rim of the orbit. And that light, that horizontal light for Frankfurt's just a guide. Not everybody has that anatomical line being perfectly horizontal. And if someone's anatomy is very different from that line, you need to use their facial profile. So if you can't get Frankfurt horizontal light parallel to the patient's Frankfurt horizontal, rely on the facial profile. If it looks like the patient, if the position of the profile looks pretty normal for that patient, then go with that. Don't worry too much about the light. There's a third light that projects down the midline of the face, and that projects from here on this machine. Get into the habit of using the patient's facial midline, looking at the forehead and looking at the chin, and ignore the nose, because noses can be quite asymmetric. People can have broken noses. The only time you don't use the facial midline is if the dental midline is very discrepant from the facial midline. So if the dental midline is 5 or 6, 7 millimetres different from that facial midline, then use the dental midline. But otherwise go with the facial midline. So for most people, use the facial midline and don't be put off by facial asymmetry. Removable orthodontic appliances come out. If someone has a removable retainer, or for some reason they wear some sort of mouth guard or night guard during the day, then those sorts of removable things come out. Tongue studs, very often they can't be removed, so you don't mention them. It's probably easier just to let that go. Best case scenario, you just get a little dumbbell shaped image of the tongue stud right in the middle of your field. Worst case scenario, you'll get a streak and the tongue stud will be streaked out across the occlusal plane, or maybe even over the upper or lower tooth crowns. So patients now prepared, glasses off, earrings out, necklaces off, bib chains off, appliances are out. You've looked at their height because you want to adjust the height of the machine roughly before you ask your patient to step into the machine. And that's the speed. So just press and hold to get it roughly right. Look at, on this machine, chin rest compared to the position of your chin. Make sure the headrests are open for your patient. Make sure the generator, the X-ray tube head, is in the start position. For this machine, it's always just in front of the right shoulder. For some machines it'll be the opposite, it'll be just in the direction. Very often it's the right though. This is a side-mounted machine, so you can look at the patient from in front, you can judge them from the side, and you can walk around behind. But this machine's very close to that wall, so if you're going behind the patient, just warn them that you're going to step behind them. So we would put our patient into the machine, but only after we've gone through the touch panel. So we've told the software we want a panoramic. So we now tell the machine's software that we want a panoramic. This machine allows us to do a standard panoramic, temporomandibular joint views and sinus views. So we'll select panoramic. We need to select adult versus child. This machine only gives us the option of adult or child. So Mr. Tester is an adult, we'll go for adult. We need to select the exposure parameters on this machine. There are no presets programmed into this software. So we're going to select exposures for him. Average adult, we're going to go with a standard or a normal exposure. We've got an exposure chart here on the wall if you forget. So average adult, we're going to use 68 kV and 7 milliamps. So we select 68 kV, 7, and press OK. Check that the correct parameters have come up here. If they're not right, go back and change them again. You'll notice that there's a third number on that top row. That 18 is 18 seconds. That's the rotation time for the machine. For a child, it'll be 15 seconds. So we've got program, adult, exposure parameters. We can, on this machine, choose the jaw shape and size, which is really handy. So it's worth having a look at the dental arches before you pop your patient into the machine. A square arch in this column, a U-shaped arch, a V-shaped arch. Mr. Tester's kind of average, so we'll go with the average size, average shape, and hit OK. Not all machines allow you to do that, but it's really handy if they do. So have a look at your patient's arch. You might occasionally just expose a partial panoramic, so you'll just do part of an OPG. Normally your first exposure would be a complete rotation of full image.
Most modern machines will give you capacity to take a partial image. Usually your first image would be a complete panoramic view, but you might take a second image that's a partial view, for example, just a posterior segment. If on your first view an area was unsharp, patient had moved, or for a patient who's got a significant asymmetry. An area that's commonly unsharp is the anterior region, where the trough is particularly narrow. You could retake that segment rather than take a series of periapicals to get a sharp image of the anterior teeth and their alveolus.
Ask them to step forward into the machine, get them to hold the handlebars, and look at them from the side. And you're looking to see if their back is straight and their neck is straight. It's really common for people to step into the machine, and when you say bite on the block, they push their chin forward. The textbooks will say their shoulders are slumped, but it's actually the patient's walked in and then they've stretched, they've reached forward to get to the bite block. And if the neck is on an angle, the beam has to get through a lot more bone to image this anterior segment. And so you see a lot of superimposition of the spine, and it reduces your capacity to use that part of the image. But if they do that, if they walk in and then they push their chin forward, just get them to shuffle their feet forward. You watch from the side and you'll see their back straighten up and their neck straighten up. Then switch your lights on. On this machine, just hit one of the layer arrows. First, look at the midline. So move around to the front using the light that projects down the midline. Make sure your patient's not too far to the right, not too far to the left, doesn't have a head tilt and isn't rotated. We'll warn the patient that we're going to take the machine down. You might gently touch the back of their head, hit the down button, and you'll see their chin drop and the forehead will come forward. If you've got them too low to begin with, you raise the block and you'll notice the forehead goes back and the chin comes up, so the head rolls upward. So you need to check that. And the last thing you do in this regard is checking the position of this vertical red line, which is quite hard to see on the mannequin, but it's easy to see on the person. We want that vertical red line to be roughly at the contact point of the upper 2 and 3. And that positions the anterior segment in the anterior focal trunk. And to do that with a real live person, we shift this. So actually shift the chin rest or the chin support to get that right. When you're happy with the patient position using those guidelines and your visual checks, they're holding the handlebars, they've got their feet a little bit apart. Now you'll put the temporal rests against the side of the heads. If there's a forehead rest, that will be placed. Temporal rests in place. So we should be good to take the image now. And double check, look from the side, look from the front, you might want to look from behind. If everything's good and you're happy with it, tell the software you're ready by hitting that ready button. When this ready button is selected, so we should be good to take the image now.